Are hammer users systematically oppressed in Monster Hunter World? Yeah. Yeah, they are. Now, this is a pretty weird thing to say. I get that. But I have reason and logic and numbers and personal anecdotes to back me up. I mean, I didn't even come up with this idea. My buddy did. We were just playing some Monster Hunter the other day, nothing special, and then he started to tell me about this funny thing he noticed. So first things first, who are hammer users? Well, they're reckless for one thing. I mean, they go out there risking their life, their honor, their medical insurance, just so they can smack a monster in the face. You know, right where the fire breath comes out of. That's where hammer users want to be. But sometimes they just gotta take the pain. Because other times it pays off. It makes me feel so powerful. Smacking the monster's face so much that it falls over, paralyzed. Whew, that's the good stuff. Then everyone can wail on it for some free damage. Although, pretty much whenever a monster gets knocked over, people always go for the head. Even if they should definitely focus on the tail or something. A good example was this one time when my buddy was hunting as an ogre. It was, you know, normal, until somebody made the monster flop over. Then things got interesting. See, what happened was Hammerman ran over to pulverize the head, as he should, and he got to do that for about 2 seconds. Because on the other side of the head, problems were coming. There were these two guys right there, and one of them might have been me, but whatever, they really should have been hitting the tail. But instead they were inching closer and closer to Hammerman. And also there was a charge blade user attacking the head too, though he had the right idea and started to move away. Now remember, Hammerman is in the center of this. He was surrounded by 2.5 hunters who acted like he wasn't there. Everyone else is attacking, but all he can do is ooh, 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 ooh. And that greatsword guy, basically for 3 or 4 seconds, he was trapped. He could barely move. This is what hammer oppression looks like. Hammer users go after the head to smack some monster face, and everybody else goes over to smack some monster face too, which makes stuff like this happen. When you're the hammer guy, the hammer man, the hammer user, this is your right. Nobody else deserves this, except for the hunting horn. They're blunt weapons, it's what they do. And it's why every hammer user's goal in life is to be in the vicinity of the head and clobber it. Then other people mosey on over and accidentally punish them for doing their job. At least, I hope it's an accident. But hammer users have had to deal with getting knocked around and battered up since, like, forever. Probably goes all the way back to the first caveman with a club. Although what makes things different in Monster Hunter World is the tripping mechanic. See, before, everyone had to deal with getting tripped. There used to be consequences back then. Any little attack you did could trip someone. And if you hit them hard enough, you might send them flying straight into Brachadiel's evil mitts. And they'd probably die. Well, they'd definitely die. So, you know, everyone tried to be careful and give people some space. It hurts me, it hurts you. We all understood what was good for each other. But in World, you can be right next to a group of people swinging their weapons like crazy, and there's a good chance everyone will be A-okay. Unless you're a hammer user. Or a lance user. But lancers don't have it as bad. They don't need to be next to the head, where everybody else likes to be. And that's the real question. Why do so many people attack the head? It's not like they need to. So what gives? Could it just be random people who don't respect social distancing? Well, yes, but also, see, it's not any one person's fault. Everyone gets encouraged to act like this. It's encouraged behavior. Encouraged by the system, the game system. And it all starts with this innocent little book, the Hunter's Guidebook. Now, personally, I love this thing. Just look at all these cute pictures. Freaking adorable. But did you know that these pictures are part of the oppression? I didn't see that coming either. But, I mean, really, look at Rathian's head. Don't you just want to give it a good whack? No? Okay, well, what if the book said hitting the head does the most damage? And let's not forget the color scheme going on here. Bright red. Yeah, that gets my attention. Now don't you want to give it a good whack? Exactly, it's much more tempting. And what if nearly every monster had a fragile head? Well, they do. And this picture book shows this to everyone. Even if we're not actively thinking about it, Deep down, we all know the head is very delicate. So if we hit it, we're guaranteed to do big damage and, potentially trip hammer users. Okay, that's pretty good evidence.
Howdy!
But no one needs to hit the head, so this sounds more like a rookie mistake than anything else. I mean, there's no way, in any way at all, that veteran players could accidentally oppress hammer users. Right? Right? Meet Altreon and Fatalis. What's special about these guys is that they both have a little gimmick. A super mega death attack. Kills everybody in one hit. The only way to stop this from happening is... wait for it.
Breaking its head should be effective.
That's how you stop it. You gotta hit the head. That's what you gotta do. And every time you start one of these hunts, the game reminds you.
This is the only time you can break its horns.
So whether you have a hammer or not, you're practically forced to hit the head. To be fair, they've got pretty big heads. But that didn't stop Hammerman from telling me a couple horror stories. Apparently one time when he was hunting Fatalis, a longsword user tripped him up so much that she killed him. Let that sink in. Fatalis is the most endest game of endgame monsters. You will not be hunting it unless you know what you're doing. But somehow one person was being so reckless, they killed their teammate. This wasn't a rookie hunting their first Rathian. They made it to Fatalis. Basically the monster god. Now, I don't blame her. Longsword users are always a tripping hazard. I would know because I used to be one of them. But I never played that poorly. Okay, I do blame her a little bit. It's not entirely her fault. Or entirely anyone's fault. I've actually messed up a few hammer users myself. I'll be attacking a monster, kinda zoning out. Then I realize I've been tripping up a hammer user for the last 5 seconds. Same thing even happens to Hammerman. Yeah, Hammerman has tripped up other hammer users. It's definitely our fault, but this never happened before Monster Hunter World. It was just fine in the other games, really not a big deal. So, what's going on here? Believe it or not, the problem is with the damage numbers. These little numbers that were meant to help people are the main source of oppression. Think about it. You're attacking a monster, happy as could be, watching lots of nice, helpful numbers fly out of its body. And if you hit a weak point, the numbers get bigger and change into a hypercharged orange color. It's really useful information. It's the kind of information that can change people's behavior. Constantly reminding you where the weak spot is. It gets hammered into your head for potentially hundreds of hours. And no matter what monster you're hunting, attacking the head always does big damage. How couldn't this affect us? It's the ultimate subliminal message. The numbers are secretly whispering to your subconscious. Wow, 600 damage! Keep whacking the head and you'll rack up some serious numbers, baby. I rest my case. Fellow hammer brothers and sisters, we are being systematically oppressed by numbers. My arch nemesis. Our arch nemesis.